somebody's got to peel the shrimp. You have? Excellent. Good morning, afternoon, or evening. You are listening to the Professional Noticer. Here, you and I will use common sense and all the wisdom we can muster to move beyond what is true and go all the way to the truth. With actual listeners in more than 100 countries, I am the Professional Noticer. Hello, everyone. I'm Andy Andrews. Hey, thank you for making me a part of your week. My purpose here today, with every show we do, is to play the part of a best friend or coach. I want to help you live the life of your wildest dreams by giving you access to the greatest mentors the world has to offer today. This week, the Professional Noticer is sponsored by ITAM.org. That's IAITAM.org. They're the only global member-based training organization dedicated to meeting the needs of IT asset management professionals. Just go to ITAM.org and look through their client list. I'm telling you, it's everybody from Sony Pictures to NASA to the United Nations. And I think it's hilarious that Google is one of their clients. Google, Yahoo, Facebook, Microsoft, Apple. I mean, when these people have IT issues, they hire the people that ITAM has trained. That's IAITAM.org. Observations and answers, that's what we do here on the Professional Noticer. And you know, we just love it when we have somebody who makes great observations and has awesome answers. And that's what we have today. You know, I actually know her husband a little better than I know her, but I think she's more famous than her husband is. I think she's probably a lot funnier than her, certainly better looking than her husband. Please welcome. Let me do the right kind of introduction because she has the greatest name of a podcast I've ever heard in my life. And because it was such a great name, it's also the name of her best-selling book. Please welcome the host of the Whinypaluza podcast, Rebecca Greene. Hey, Rebecca.
Hi, Andy. Thank you so much for having me today. This is so exciting.
I'm thrilled that you are here. I mean, I really am. And I'm sure that a lot of our listeners and viewers are already familiar with your husband, Seth, but I'm going on record as liking you better than Seth. Okay, so.
He's not going to be happy.
Well, you know, that's all right. That's all right. But I really do. I love Seth, and so does everybody in my office. But tell me, first of all, you got to tell me, and this may be just because I'm from the South, but what is a Whinypaluza?
It is a completely made-up word.
Which makes it even better to me. That's great.
So back in the day when the blog started, the blog Whinypaluza is where it all started.
Right.
And that was 8 years ago. And my husband, Seth, who you know, would read my writings and he would see that we were always dealing with whining children and we were always taking them to a party. And of course, his marketing brain came up with Whinypaluza. And I think it's such a silly name. And I have tried to change it many times, but he's like, no, it's you. You have to stick with it. And then people like you tell me that you love it. So you're sealing the deal.
I do. I love it.
Change it.
And it's memorable too. I mean, when I really love the fact that it wasn't a word until you made it a word. Do you know, when I wrote the first Noticer book, and I went to the publisher and I had written on there, the Noticer, and they said, well, you can't call it this. And I said, why is that? She said, well, it's not a word. That's not a word. And I'm like, well, neither was Google a few years ago, okay, but or all those names in the Harry Potter books. And so
right.
Noticer, I'm right up there with Whinypaluza. So I'm very happy.
That's
Now, the
awesome.
podcast comes out every Friday, right?
Yes, every Friday.
And I am excited that there is somebody. I think there's a lot of people who do parenting kind of things that have the experience. But you not only have the experience, you have the science behind it because you have, you have degrees. I mean, you're social work, psychology. I mean, you have science behind what you do.
Yes. Yes, I'm really enjoying it because I'm talking to like-minded people. I'm
Right.
talking to people like me, psychologists, social workers, coaches, and they're my people, and we speak the same language.
Now, how old are your kids?
So Max is 14, he's the oldest.
Right.
Ella's 11, about to turn 12, and Lily is 8.
Ella is 11. Okay, so tell her that I said that if Ella Greene married Darth Vader, her name would be Ella Vader. Just give her that for me. Just tell her. Tell her that's free. So you've got 3 kids with Seth. That makes 4. And so where was it? I mean, with Max as your oldest, where was it that you kind of started thinking, I have something to say here. I mean, I've blended the science and the experience now, and I'm hearing other people talk, and they need to understand. At what point did that happen?
I was working before children. I was counseling families whose children had behavior problems.
Right.
And when I had my kids, I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom and I wanted to focus on my kids. And I really loved it. And it was a lot. I mean, mothers everywhere will tell you, and fathers, that parenthood is so overwhelming. It's like the greatest thing of my life, and it's also the hardest thing of my life.
Sure.
And so I started coping by venting it out onto paper. And I found that I felt so much better. It was like my greatest coping strategy. And then I realized that I was coming out with stuff that was helping me. And as I was writing, it was evolving into some started commenting. Of course, Seth made it a blog because that's what Seth does.
Sure. Yeah.
And people started
Mr. Marketing,
commenting.
Mr. Marketing. Yeah. We could have 200 million moms listening to this.
So funny.
And you might be close to that because you're one of the top 100 mommy bloggers in the world. And so, I mean, you might have 200 million for all I know. Keep going. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's okay. So
it's just a behavioral problem that I had as a child that now
not at all.
As an adult here.
So the moms started responding and telling me how helpful the blog was. And then Seth was like, okay, you're doing a vlog. And I'm like, what's a vlog? So actually, the moms like the vlog better than the blog. And I've gotten so many views, I can't even fathom it. But it's because we're talking about real issues. We're talking about our family and how I'm using my degree in my parenting. So it keeps evolving.
Do you take live questions? I mean, do you take or actual questions, or or do you kind of feel your way to what? Do you let your own experiences guide your show, or do you allow other people's experience to guide your show? I'm just curious about that.
It's definitely both. It's mostly me because every so often I'll be like, am I going to have a topic this week? And I don't even say that anymore. I don't even question it anymore because life presents itself.
Absolutely.
And I have such substance every week of what's going on with my family. And if it's going on in my family, I know what's going on in other families. So it's mostly my own family. But I also have moms reach out to me and say, will you please do this topic?
Right.
And then I do that for them.
What do you think is where did you grow up? I'm just curious.
I grew up in Buffalo, New York.
Okay. All right.
I've been here forever.
Well, how different is your parenting from what you experienced growing up?
Life is very different. And it was much simpler. I'm putting that in quotes. I would have to ask my parents if they agree with me. But it seems like it's more complex today with all of the, social media. We didn't have any of that. My parents didn't have to deal with the internet at all. They didn't have to deal with us having a phone.
Right.
my mother was very simplistic. She would say you can pick one activity to do, and my kids are in way too many things. So I think it was simpler. I do.
I would agree with you. And I look at you and Seth, and you guys look like you're like 32, and I'm
Ha,
like this old person. And
not
so
at all.
I know we kind of grew up in different eras, really. But I mean, see, I totally agree with you about the simpler thing because my parents. I mean, their greatest parenting, I guess, instruction was be home before the streetlights come on. But I mean, yeah, there was no
I
internet, there was
know.
no cell phone. Nobody knew where we were. We were on bicycles without helmets, for God's sakes. I mean, who knows where we were?
Right?
And so it
It's
was
true.
simpler. It was definitely simpler. Now, here's an odd question. I'm just curious what you think about this because you have studied it and you're good at it. There's a lot of people who've studied it that aren't good at it, and a lot of people who are good at it and haven't studied it. But you've studied it and you're good at it. Do you think? I think we agreed that things are simpler, but do you look back at the time that there was no internet, no cell phone, no 24-hour news cycle, there was that stuff? Are things worse now? I mean, are there more kidnappings and dangers for children? Or was it just that we had one town, one newspaper, there were only 3 channels, and most of us only got 2 of them, and we didn't know what was going on 50 miles away?
Yes.
So what? Is it worse, or is it kind of a smoke and mirrors making us think that things are just horrible?
It's really, I don't even want to say this. I'm sad to say this, but I think you're right. I think that it's sad to me that I have to talk to my 8-year-old about TikTok and people and what is a predator? How do I explain that to an 8-year-old? She thinks
Right.
everything is la la la, and we have to keep our kids safe in such different ways now. I think it's scarier. I do.
I agree. I agree. They say that every blessing comes with a curse, and I think that's certainly the internet. I mean, because it's certainly helped us, and yet we have to be we have to watch out. So, what do you think? What do you hear more than anything else? What question do you get more than any? I mean, for me, the biggest question is, so who was Jones? I mean, I hear that more than anything else. So as a mommy blogger, as an expert in this area, what do you hear?
So the question that I hear the most, people think that I have it all together. How do you keep it all together? How do you make it look so easy? What are you doing? Help me. How come I don't feel like I have it all together? And I think that, my son, Max, he's a noticer. He's a very good noticer, and
Right.
he's made a
That's a blessing that comes with a curse too. So
he's he made a really good comment to me. He said that everyone thinks that everyone's house is perfect, and everyone thinks that it's going better in someone else's house. And he said everyone has the same struggles. Everyone is going through similar things. It just looks like it's easier. And I tell these moms that, I love being a mom and I love being a parent, but I think it's as hard as they think it is. And my biggest line that I want to share to everyone constantly is, you're not alone. You are not alone in this. We are in this together, and I want to help you through this. So I don't have it all together every day. It's not smooth sailing every day. I just try to learn from my struggles every day.
I think that's important. I mean, I think and there's a lot of value in that. I think that, given the chance, many of us would want to say, no, I don't want to have any trials. I don't want to have any tribulations. Now, I mean, given that chance, we would probably opt out. And yet, because you have dealt with so much stuff, because you have been through it, you become infinitely more valuable to so many moms. Because honestly, Rebecca, if I went to you and I said, "Hey, I'm having a problem with our kids and this is going on," and all you could say was, "Wow, that never happened to me," then what good are you,
Right.
right? Yeah. So you have actually dealt with, and with 3 kids. We have 2. My wife and I have 2, and I've told some people. I mean, I don't have the experience of 3 or 4 or 5, but I have watched very carefully, right? And one, it's like we double teamed him. Okay, then we had 2. Now it's man to man. But I see some of my friends like you. There's 3. Now all of a sudden you're in the zone, and it's like, boy, it's like, which way do we go? Are your kids? And see, I know the answer to this before I even ask. Are your kids pretty much like just alike, or are they just like 3 separate ends of the compass?
I will tell you the answer to that. They could not be more different. It blows my mind.
That does mine too. It does mine too. What is that? Because you look and go, we raised you the same way. Same mom, same dad, raised you at the same dinner table. We've given you the same rules.
I will tell you that they come out with a personality. And I didn't understand moms. When I was counseling, I didn't have kids yet.
Right.
And I didn't understand that one of their children just had such a hard temperament and they struggled. And now I wish I could go back and find these mothers, because now I have the 3 kids with the 3 different personalities, and they came out with their personality. I mean, I did not make their personality. I certainly am modeling how to handle things, but they came out with a temperament for sure.
I see that. Austin, our oldest, man, when he was little, you just kind of put him down on the floor and just every now and then just corner your eye. He's still there. But Adam, oh my God, you don't keep your eye on that kid, he's gone.
Yeah.
He was just gone, And it's interesting. Some of the things that I think that we worry about, I think they have good sides. I have a friend, I would love for her to meet you. Her name's Julie Richard. And I heard Julie tell somebody one time, because this lady, Julie's a mom, and she's a very wise person to me. And this mom said, "Man, my daughter, she is so strong-willed. It is just unbelievable." And the mom was saying, "Man, we're just having, I'm just like, just a 5-year-old. And it's like, you don't rule this house." And you know what Julie said? Now, I'm a person, I think about perspective a lot. You choose how you think. Julie said, "I know that's a struggle for you, but one of the things you can look at now, and you will never have a problem, because your daughter is never going to have a problem saying no to some guy."
Yes, very true.
And I thought, wow, yeah, that's true. That's true. So when you look at the things, what was the hardest for you? What was it like a really tough? I don't want to get you crying or anything. I'm not trying to turn Barbara Walters or Oprah in, but what was really tough for you? What was a moment that you thought, I don't know if I can do this?
Seth would get up and go to work every day. Just get up like his normal day, do his routine and leave. And I would have these 3 little people. And life is a lot easier now than it was when they were all tiny.
Right.
And they all wanted something all the time. And I didn't know how to share myself. I didn't know how to be a mom to multiple kids. I had to learn that. And being Max's mom all alone was hard. Just one kid.
Right.
And then Ella came, and honestly, that was the hardest when Ella was born, because Max would say, "Put the baby down, put the baby down."
Yeah.
And I think that was probably my hardest time parenting because Ella wanted to be held constantly and Max wanted me constantly. And I had to learn how to share myself. I had to learn that it was okay for Max to be upset because Ella needed something. It was okay for Ella to be upset because Max needed something. And I figured it out before Lily came. And then with Lily, it was easier.
So how did you explain this to Max? I mean, okay, you figured out what's got to happen here, but you
Yes.
still got to talk to him. So what?
Yes. Well, he was 2, but he was really smart and he knew what I was saying. He was um, just a great 2-year-old, moving along quickly with everything. And he understood. I would say to him, I have to feed the baby and then I will play with you. This is what you're going to do now. I have to do this. I have to take care of your sister, but then I will give you attention. In fact, I remember a mother, that was 12 years ago. I remember a mother telling me to have a special box for Max, and I would take out that box when I was busy with Ella and say, you have to play with your box. You have to do your own thing. And then when I am done, I will play with you. He was smart. He understood. He wasn't happy.
Right, but that's okay. I think it's a mistake to raise children thinking that they should be happy all the time.
Well, and that is the biggest lesson in motherhood. See, Seth got that quickly as a parent. He understood that it wasn't his job to make them happy every second of their life. And I was like this people pleaser thrown into
Sure.
motherhood who thought that I had to please my kids every second of the day. So that took me longer than Seth to figure out.
Yeah, I could see. I have a lot of that in me too. That's why I would be a horrible politician because I really want you to like me. I would be horrible, and and that also that probably makes it a little harder for me now because my boys are 21 and 18, and I'm not, the really probably the main guy in their life. I'm not the guy they're thinking about all the time like I used to be. And even though I know this is a parenting technique I'll share with you, I think that this worked very well. At the time that they were like 6 and 4, I sat them on the couch and I got the videotape, and I still have it. And I said, okay, guys, I want to ask you some questions. I want to just get your answers here on video. Adam and Austin, when you are 17 years old, are you still going to hold hands with your dad in the grocery store? And they said, yes, sir. I said, okay, when you're 18, are you going to want to hang out with girls or are you going to want to hang out with your dad? And they said, with dad. I mean, I've got all these questions answered.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they're just hilarious. So to this day, they're pretty funny to me. So, but Adam, we have the different spectrum too. We had Austin, the older one. He's been 40 years old ever since he was 6, and then we've got Adam, who hates school, doesn't want anything to do with it, and he's dyslexic and dysgraphic and ADD like his dad. Which.
Oh boy.
What that means, he can't read, he can't write, and he can't pay attention. Other than that, school is a breeze for Adam.
Oh gosh.
But Adam is one of these kind of people that, I mean, he beats everybody in checkers, and and he's if you meet him, Adam is going to be an awesome adult. We just got to get him through school, right? But Polly said to Adam one night, she said, Adam, 2 wrongs do not make a right, and he said, that's true, but 2 rights can make an airplane. And I thought, oh boy.
He's so funny.
Yeah, where is this coming from? So how have things changed for you? You've got a teenager, adolescents, and during the pandemic, what focus changes have you made? What barriers have you come up against? What coping
Yes.
mechanisms have you created?
Life is very, very different. So, I understand that in every state, school looks different. And here, my kids aren't even allowed to go to school every day. I
Right.
mean, it's been so different. So they're allowed to go to school twice a week. And the other 3 days they're home. Sometimes they're online. Sometimes they have, the little one just will have independent work. So I have had to put on a teacher hat that I don't want to put on. I
I
don't want
hear,
to,
I hear, I hear you.
I'm not a teacher. I do my best to help as best as I can, but it's been such a challenge. And my 14-year-old is so happy because he can sit in his room all day on school and then he can change to gaming with his friends. So if I let Max, he will stay in his room from the time he wakes up till the time he goes to bed. So,
Yeah. Or if Max was like his Uncle Andy, he would be gaming while the teachers were looking at him on the screen. You know,
I am not checking on him enough, but I am sure you're right. I mean, I will tell you that his grades are so off the chart fabulous that I'm not as hard on him as I probably should be.
see, But so, what is your thing? What do you like when you look at your kids? Uh, where do you differ from most parents? Where do you, And I don't think that not being hard up on the schoolwork, that's not enough of a difference, because I'm like, yeah, wait, whatever. You're going to school still? I hated it when I was in it. I'm 61 years old. I still drive by schools and go, thank you, God, I'm not in there today. I hated it. And so what? I'm going to push my. So anyway, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to get off of that. But
No, you're right. You're right.
what kind of what are you after? Where do you go? Wow, see, now Seth and I are doing something different here because this is not the usual thing, but we're very certain about what would that be?
You know, I would say I want every single parent who hears this not to take this the wrong way, because not everyone dreamed of being a parent. Okay.
Right.
Some people dreamed of being a lawyer. Some people dreamed of being a doctor. I dreamed about being a mother. I didn't dream
Really?
about being a social worker. I mean, I love it, but I love being a mom. It's something that I always wanted. And I think that I'm enjoying it. And I think that I just love being with my kids. I love doing things with my kids. My kids know that I'm here. I think that I'm very, very present. And they know if they need me. Doesn't mean I'm with them. They're all over the house. They're not always in the same room with me, but they know that I'm present and they know that I will help them and they know how much I care. And I'm not saying anyone else doesn't feel like that. I'm just saying that I think Seth and I really step up and really love being their parents.
I hear that, and Polly and I were both those people who we didn't dream of being parents. I mean, we knew there were people who's like from the time they were little kids, they played mommy or something, and yet, I was 29 when Polly and I got married, and she'll tell you she was 14, but she wasn't. Okay, she was much older, but she younger than me, and for like I don't know, a couple of years, just maybe once. Said, we're going to have kids one day. Yeah, one day, And maybe a year later, one of us would go, are we going to have kids? Yeah, yeah, well, one day, yeah, sometime we will. And that went on literally, Rebecca, for 11 years until
Wow.
finally Polly asked me one night, she said, are we going to have kids? And I said, yeah, and she said, okay, well, if we're going to, we got to, because I'm getting to where if we're going to do it, we got to do it. And so I was 40 when Austin was born, and 42 when Adam was born. And so it seems kind of scary to me that I never really looked for that, never really thought much about it. And yet, if I knew then what I knew now, I'd have moved to Utah and like converted to Mormonism and had 20 of them. I just love the experience that much, and I'm sad that I'm kind of, you know, getting out of that area of my life. But I do. I envy you and Seth with those kids and just the times there, because it's just, I mean, I was 40. And people told me, they said, pay attention, because it goes by in a heartbeat. It goes by before you. Well, I'm 40. I've already watched a ton of my friends raise their kids. So when they told me that, I did pay attention, and it still goes by in a heartbeat.
Too fast. Lily said Max just turned 14. And Lily said, does that mean that he's only going to live with us for 4 more years? And I went, oh my God, don't say that. Don't even say that to me.
I know. That's exactly, I mean, that's the same kind of thinking. And people say, see, I think there's a huge difference in parenting little kids and in parenting adults. And I believe that you gotta be headed toward the adult thing. You know, you can't just all of a sudden change. To me, it's like we're not trying to raise great kids. We're trying to raise kids who become great adults.
Yes.
That's two different things. You know, you can make them be great kids because you're bigger than they are and you have all the money. Okay, you can make them be great kids, but what we want is we want them to be equipped when they're away from us. And so that's a large part of what I love about what you do. There's an understanding in your methodology, and there's an understanding in your teaching that I don't really see in a lot of, you know, when we started having, you know, when Austin was born, I'm reading every book I could possibly read. Because we're terrified. And my wife only had a little sister, and she's even more terrified. She had a boy. You know, she didn't know anything about boys. And then she had another boy. This is like, oh my gosh. But we're reading these books, and so many books and so much jabber about parenting is like getting through it so you can kind of enjoy your life, and just kind of getting through it, and just like, can you pacify this kid so that you can do what you want to do? And that never seemed to be the point to me. And that's why I love what you do, because even though you're a mommy blogger, you're the Whinypaluza, you're the author of the book Whinypaluza. By the way, you know, this is your first book, right? This is a book people need to go get. But let me give you, as somebody I've written several books, so let me give you just one piece of author advice. Don't ever agree to personalize books in Utah. Anywhere else you can. Okay, but you'll never get out of there, okay? Because everybody has 20 kids. So would you make this to my kids? Sure. Okay, this is to Jason and James and Jill and to Marvin and to Henry and to, it's like, you know, it's like, oh my God. So, but
I won't do that.
I love what you're doing. What are you looking to do next? If you could step up what you're doing, because I know we all have this kind of feeling like, hey man, I'm doing everything I can do right now. So if you could wave your magic wand, what's the next step?
There are so many ideas. There's so many. I have so many ideas. I'm laughing because I wasn't planning on my children being home this year.
Right.
So I thought in September they would all be in school 5 days a week and I would have time to really work. And every year I say, I'm going to work more. I'm going to do more. And the blog, the vlog, the podcast, it takes up a lot more time than people think it does.
You're not kidding.
So I have so many more ideas. I have another book coming. I have a children's book coming that I wrote with my daughter. I have, in the back of my mind, I know I'm going to coach. I know I'm going to do, some sort of online counseling with people.
Yeah.
And, Seth is on me to do courses. He is hysterical. He comes home and he's always like, so I thought of something else for you. So add this to your list. I have another great idea. And I listen to these, all these moms doing podcasts who talk about all the things they're doing. And I'm like, yep, my husband told me to do that. Yep, he told me to do that. So there's a list. I think that there is so much in my future.
And you know what? That's something to just be calm and understand. There is a future, and you are feeding that right now. Because I know I know Seth, and I come in and, hey, and you're just like, hey, Seth, right now, I'd really like to just unload the dishwasher. Can I? Can I do that today? And so, I look at the time I know you didn't expect this. I know you didn't expect to be home with the kids, but there is coming a time that I really believe not only will you look back and go, man, I wish they were here 24 hours a day now.
Yes.
But I think also that this time with those children and your time to observe and to interact with them and to explain for the fifth time the same thing in a different way, I think that this time is going to be very valuable for all of us because we are going to learn so much from you. And just because you may not have the time to tell us now, I see in you a great desire and determination to grow in wisdom, not just learn some more stuff so that you could put out another blog. I mean, there is a determination for wisdom, and that ultimately will be priceless for your kids and hugely valuable to us. So.
Yes, I always say that I learn something new every day.
Yeah. I feel like I learn something new every day, but I don't tell anybody when I have to learn the same thing again the next day. So, hey, Rebecca, thank you so much for being with us. And we're going to put on the show notes how people can get your book, how people can subscribe to your podcast, then subscribe to your vlog, and so we're gonna watch, we're gonna listen, and we're gonna read, and we're gonna be about all things Rebecca Greene, and we appreciate so much you being with us.
Thank you so much for spending time with me. This has been such a pleasure. I just loved it.
Well, you are fun to talk to and very valuable. There's so many of our listeners that I know are just going to be just clamoring for more Rebecca, and we will. So let's just stay in close touch. Thank you very much. I'm Andy Andrews, the professional noticer, harnessing common sense and wisdom to plow through challenges all the way to an answer for you. And I think that'll do it for this week. Get us out of here, Matthew. So, ladies and gentlemen, and to the boys and girls who aspire to become ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of another episode of the Professional Noticer. In a world where common sense has become a superpower, I'm harnessing the tiny bit of mental energy I have for you, seeking wisdom, making observations, and endeavoring to answer tough questions in a way that will empower your family and your business. I'm Andy Andrews. Until next week, smile while you talk. Don't breathe anybody else's air. You don't need to. But make sure you have a positive answer to the question, hey, how's it going? And so, until next week, goodbye. This episode of The Professional Noticer was produced by Matt Limpert. The Noticer theme written and performed by Sugarcane Jane. Ghost Pepper Tea, provided by Twinkle and Smoke of Beverly Hills. Additional financial consideration provided by Mediocre. Do you love okra? Like, are you an okra freak? You like it fried, pickled, made into stew. You even like that boiled, slick kind of okra. Will you eat it any way you can? Well, it sounds like you're one of the people in this world that needs the help of Mediocre. The okra that's just kind of, okay. This product is designed specifically for people who have developed an okra addiction. Whether this problem just arose because you enjoy it too much, or problems with vegetables have run in your family for years. Either way, we're here to help. You see, when you eat okra, serotonin is released in the brain. It tastes so darn good that pretty soon you've eaten everything at the Thanksgiving table, and your in-laws, who are just beginning to like you, are like, Jeremy, what the heck, man? That's where Mediocre helps. This okra is hybridized with the common Brussels sprout, which, be real, nobody likes Brussels sprouts. Curiously, despite the sprout infusion, Mediocre gives the appearance of regular okra, but take one little nibble and you'll soon know something ain't right. Of course, you'll try more, thinking, well, that was just a bad piece. But no, my friend, it's the whole freaking bowl. Pretty soon you'll be thinking all okra tastes that bad. You won't want any more, and will tell your wife to throw it all out. No more late nights with her wondering if you're passed out in a rundown house somewhere with other okra heads, or with you wondering where you can next score the green vegetable, because you will have harnessed the power of Mediocre. The green nightmare will never control you again. Try it. Take back your life today with Mediocre.